Meadows that only a few weeks ago were buried beneath the snow are now full of life. But in these mountains, the good times will not last long. So the bears must feed as fast as they can. During the summer months, an adult can put on 180 kilos, gorging on plants. And, if they can catch them, a marmot or two. But just now, the bears have something else on their minds. It's becoming warmer, and the bears are keen to shed their thick winter coats. Mothers show the cubs what to do about this. They'll soon catch on. Some trees, it seems, are particularly suitable for rubbing. Bears have their favourites and will travel long distances to visit them. Some itches just have to be scratched. There are now around 30 bears in this one valley. As they rub, each leaves an individual and recognizable scent. So the tree soon carries a list of who's around, which might help individuals to avoid a fight. To best spread their scent, they really have to put their back into it. But summer is short. Itches satisfactorily scratched. It's time to eat. In a couple of months, they will have to return to their dens to hibernate. So now they must put on as much weight as they can. And now the snakes are on the alert. This is the best feeding opportunity they will get all year. On flat ground, a baby iguana can outrun a racer snake. But others are waiting in ambush. Another hatchling has its first glimpse of a dangerous world. A snake's eyes aren't very good, but they can detect movement. So if the hatchling keeps its nerve, it may just avoid detection. A near miraculous escape. The lucky survivors could begin learning the unique way of life demanded by this hostile island. 1,000 plants growing on one single tree. Throughout the forest, this story is repeated endless times. As a consequence, jungles are home to more species of plants than anywhere else on Earth. And they, in turn, support a wealth of animals. In Ecuador, the competition is at its most intense. Here there are 100 species of hummingbirds alone, all fighting for nectar. Each flower only has a small amount at any one time, and so it's first come, first served. One hummingbird has gone to great lengths to avoid conflict with other species. Swordbills are the only bird with a beak longer than their body. And some flowers are too elongated for the other 99 species of hummingbirds here to feed from them. A swordbill's extraordinary beak, however, enables it to reach the places that others can't. The top of this flower, where the sweet nectar is produced. It has found a solution that means it doesn't have to join the fight. And as each long flower blooms, it gives the swordbill a fresh supply of food all to itself. But having a beak longer than your body does have its drawbacks. For a start, it's tricky to keep it clean. Harder still, how do you preen your body feathers? Unlike the other hummers, swordbills can't reach their feathers with their beak. The only option, a good old scratch. It's a little unrefined, but a small price to pay for an exclusive food supply. And this bobcat may be in luck. For this particular valley is blessed. A river here never freezes. It's fed by a volcanic hot spring that heats these waters to 50 degrees warmer than the surrounding air. Hungry animals of all kinds come here to feed. Throughout the winter, the river is full of food for those who know how to catch it. Here, even the coyotes have become fishermen. But hunting is hard for a cat that's not used to getting its feet wet. So he must choose his target with care. Golden-eye ducks. But can he get close enough to pounce? Perhaps he'll have more luck on the other side. Here, steam from the river warms the surrounding trees. So up in the branches, there could be prey. If only he could get to it. It's 6 meters up. At last, a squirrel. Not much, but enough to keep him going. To survive a winter in these mountains takes tenacity, and bobcats have that in abundance. It's July in the deserts of Nevada in the western United States, the hottest time of the year. Bands of wild horses, Mustang, are converging on one of the last remaining waterholes around. Now, water not only offers them the chance to drink, it can also bring power. If a stallion can control access to water, he will have secured mating rights to the entire herd. So stallions try to dominate these pools, fighting off rivals who venture too close. A stranger. He's travelled 15 kilometres to be here, because the pools where he's come from have already dried up. With him come his females. If he can't provide them with water, they will leave him for the white stallion, who already dominates this pool. So he will have to fight. There is everything to lose. A broken leg or a shattered jaw would mean a slow and painful death. A missed kick, and it's all over. The new arrival has won. And his prize is more than just a chance to drink. He has provided for his herd and in the process stolen his rival's females. The white stallion's rule is over. 60 million tons of snow now blanket this herd's territory. Pushing through deep snow is exhausting work, and the bison are now slowly starving. Just keeping warm saps huge amounts of energy. Their thick coats can insulate them down to -30 Celsius. It's now -40. The only thing that will keep them alive is buried beneath a meter of snow. And that's a problem shared with a surprising neighbor. The food the fox seeks is also deep beneath the snow. The survival of both creatures depends on getting through to the ground. For the bison, it will be a matter of brute strength. Massive neck muscles enable them to shovel 5 tons of snow a day. Their lightweight neighbour needs more precision. Bison have reached their goal, a mouthful of withered grass. And where the bison have dug, the fox now spots an opportunity. Every footstep counts. But he mustn't break through. Yet. He listens carefully to pinpoint his target. It's moving. A vole. Small, but 100 times more nutritious than a mouthful of dried grass. To get through the winter on these prairies, sometimes brain beats brawn. Danger past. And that's just as well. Because he is a father. And he's guarding some very precious eggs. For the last few weeks, females, one after the other, have visited him and entrusted him with their offspring. Some are now almost ready to hatch. There are several clutches on the leaf, and those at the top, the most recently laid, are barely a day old. But in the jungle, there's always someone out to get you. This wasp is a specialist hunter of frogs' eggs. It's noticed the wriggling tadpoles at the bottom of the leaf. He mustn't move. The youngest eggs are the most vulnerable, and he can't guard them all. But these tadpoles are not as helpless as they might appear. Incredibly, the unhatched tadpoles can sense danger, and the oldest and strongest wriggle free and drop into the stream below. The eggs at the top of the leaf, however, are still too young to hatch. And now the wasps know they're there. But the male's back looks very like the youngest cluster of eggs. And that seems to confuse the wasps. Using his own body as a decoy is a huge risk. The wasp's stings could kill him. He's managed to save most of his young. He'll have to remain on guard for another 2 weeks. But in the jungle, just surviving the day can count as a success. And many animals here choose the simplest option of all. Staying hidden all day and only venturing out in the cool of the night. As darkness falls, animals appear from seemingly nowhere. And among them, inevitably, are hunters. One of the most voracious nocturnal predators is also one of the hardest to see. This mysterious creature hardly ever appears on the surface of the dunes. But there are signs on the sand that can give it away. It lives only here, where the sand grains are so perfectly dry and polished that they flow almost like water. It's no bigger than a ping-pong ball. A golden mole. It's totally blind. But there's nothing to see underground anyway. Instead, it has superb hearing. Its entire head acts as an amplifier that picks up vibrations through the sand. So, to locate prey on the surface of the dune, it has, paradoxically, to thrust its face into the dune. Termites. Not easy to catch when you're blind. Far better to go into stealth mode. Once below the sand, it can detect the slightest movement, allowing it to strike with pinpoint accuracy. Well, most of the time. It can travel a kilometre a night in search of its dinner. And right now, it has just detected its main course. Little wonder it's sometimes called the shark of the dunes. Losing its fear of humans has enabled one animal to spread into cities everywhere and in huge numbers. Pigeons are by far the most successful urban bird. Here in Albi in the south of France, the pigeons come to the river to bathe. They need to preen their flight feathers, clean off the city dust, and cool themselves down. But death lies in wait. A predator that has taken advantage of the very thing that has led to the pigeon's success. Their lack of fear. As the pigeons bathe, oil from their plumage flows downstream and is detected. Monstrous Wells catfish. Introduced here just 40 years ago, they have proliferated, virtually exterminated the local fish stocks, and they've now developed a taste for pigeon. Their eyesight is poor, so they use their barbels to sense the movements of their victims. This is a radical new hunting strategy for what is normally a bottom-dwelling fish. After 1,000 years of living in this city, pigeons are now having to learn to avoid a fish. They're setting off on the greatest overland trek made by any animal. But wherever grass-eaters travel, predators lie in wait. Here they are, Arctic wolves. They must seize their chance while the caribou pass through their territory. The wolf runs at the herd, trying to flash out the weak or the slow. A calf is separated. At full tilt, 60 kilometers an hour, the wolf is just faster. Has stamina. Only a few weeks old, and this calf's will to survive is remarkable. And it needs to be, for these young caribou have now started a journey that will last a lifetime. Forever chasing the seasonal growth of the grass on which they depend. Like all grassland creatures, they are at the mercy of these unpredictable but ultimately bountiful lands. Grass can survive some of the harshest conditions on Earth: flood, fire and frost, and still flourish. So it is that grasslands provide a stage for the greatest gatherings of wildlife on planet Earth. Christmas Island in the Indian Ocean. For millions of years, this remote speck of land has been ruled by crabs. Their ancestors came from the sea, but most have now adopted a land-based existence. Given there are so many of them, they get along relatively harmoniously. They're the gardeners and caretakers of a tiny crab utopia. Once a year, they must all return to the sea to breed, and the march of the red crabs is one of the greatest natural spectacles on Earth. There are 50 million of them. It's an event that has brought the island worldwide fame. But in recent years, millions of red crabs haven't managed to reach the sea. An invader has occupied this island. Yellow crazy ants. They escaped from visiting ships, and with no predators to control them, they have now created vast super colonies in the forest. When migrating red crabs march into their territory, the ants attack, squirting acid into the crabs' eyes and mouths. The crabs have no defense. Blinded and confused, they're doomed. Humans brought these ant invaders here, and now humans are having to control them. Isolated communities may evolve for millions of years in relative peace. But when new challenges arrive, they can struggle to cope. Of all the species that have become extinct in recent years, around 80% have been islanders.
It's the breeding season, and the trees are teeming with frogs. The female is with a male at the tip of a branch, perched above the paddy pool. She's building a nest by whipping up a giant ball of foam with her back legs. She lays hundreds of eggs inside. She's attracting the attention of other males. Each male could still fertilize some of the remaining eggs in the foam. They're coming in from all directions. But the foam makes it hard to get to grips with the competition. Things quickly descend into an undignified wrestling match. This male's work here is done. It's time to move on and find other nests. But when you're covered in slippery foam, it's hard to leave with dignity. It's an unusual problem for a tree frog. As the days pass, the eggs develop in the safety of their foam nest. The temperature rises with the summer sun, and the foam ball dries to form a protective case. The tadpoles inside are still moist and 6 degrees cooler. But the little tadpoles need rain. At this time of year, warm air is rising over the steep Honshu Mountains, and clouds are starting to build. The tree frogs have timed their nest building perfectly. After 20 days, conditions are just right, and the waiting is over. The hard foam starts to dissolve, and the tadpoles drop out, straight into the nursery pool of the rice paddy below. They feast on the remaining pieces of the nest, a final meal before they take their chances in the big wide world. Their mother has pulled off a remarkable feat of planning. It's when animals leave the forest edge and move into farmland that the relationship with humans becomes less benevolent. The macaques of the lower forests are as bold as their mountain cousins and often venture out in search of new opportunities. There are all sorts of perils, but there are rewards too if you're willing to take some risks. For over 100 years, people have been growing the finest fruit and vegetables on these warm, rich soils. For these cheeky thieves, it's irresistible. Growing perfect produce is a Japanese obsession, so the last thing people want is marauding macaques. As the day heats up, the farmers take a break. The coast is clear. They have to be cautious. If they're spotted, there'll be trouble. But every day they brave the electric fences. They know all the weak spots where they can stage their raids. And they gorge themselves on the fruit of the farmers' labours. They are almost impossible to stop. But the farmers are not prepared to give in. They bring out their secret weapon. Specially trained monkey dogs. The Japanese Shiba Inu is one of the world's oldest breeds, and people have trained them to protect their crops against monkeys. There's even a Japanese saying that when people are fighting, they're like a dog and a monkey. But the rewards outweigh the risks. They'll be back again tomorrow. It's only the warmth of the Kuroshio Current that allows coral to grow this far north in the Pacific Ocean. The current also brings nutrients from the deep. There's one very small resident who never strays far from the reef. He's a blue streak cleaner wrasse, and he leads a very busy life. He eats parasites and dead skin from other fish, but he has to wait for them to come his way. And right now, no one is stopping long enough to give him as much as a nibble. But then he spots something worth chasing. A batfish. Like a customer at a spa, the batfish lies back and waits for attention. It opens its gills and the cleaner wrasse bustles in to begin the treatment. The batfish even changes colour, probably to make parasites more visible. Someone else has arrived at the reef. The batfish is abandoned. There's a visitor from the open ocean that's worth dropping everything for. A manta ray, 2 meters long, has come back to a favorite stretch of reef. He signals to the manta by flicking his tail. And the giant responds by unfurling itself for cleaning. The manta keeps its feeding lobes rolled up while it swims. But a thorough clean keeps them parasite-free. This enormous fish would never visit Japan if it wasn't for the warmth that bathes the island chain and the helpful services of this resourceful little wrasse. Sea snakes. At one time, these snakes' ancestors lived on dry land. They must still visit the surface to breathe. But they are beautifully adapted to life at sea, hunting for fish around the island reefs. They have some of the most toxic venom of any animal, so they don't have many predators. But as they forage off the coast of one small island, their greatest nemesis is approaching. Yoko and Setsuko are hunters, and they have a fearsome reputation. These two 70-year-olds are on a shopping trip like no other. Yoko and Setsuko live on the tiny island of Kudaka. It's only 4 kilometers across, and with limited space on land, the locals look to the sea to provide. As the sun sets, the lady's prey is approaching. On certain summer nights, venomous sea snakes move towards the island and gather in coastal caves, looking for shelter and fresh water to drink. But coming ashore on this island is extremely risky.
2回3回こうやってその時にカーンだね、見えるんですよ。
It takes some nerve to wade in with no protective clothing. Sea snake venom can be 10 times more powerful than a rattlesnake's. Yoko has been hunting snakes for 40 years. It's a skill that's been passed down the generations here for at least 5 centuries. The snakes will be dried in this smokehouse using a secret process known only by the hunters. Then they go into a special soup. The catching and eating of sea snakes is a very old tradition on the island of Kudaka, where the sea provides more than the land. She needs to put food in the mouths of her 2 young cubs. There's a bitter winter coming, and if they're not well fed, her cubs won't make it through. This is a hard place to be a mum. The family is not alone. This peninsula is home to 200 brown bears. It's one of the most densely packed populations in the world. The salmon bonanza has attracted others here too. Nobody lives permanently in this remote part of Hokkaido. But one hardy group have special permission to stay here for some of the year. Hokkaido is Japan's 2nd largest island, but the harsh conditions mean it's home to only 4% of its people. Shiratoko is one of the loneliest corners, where you have to live close to the wild. Brown bears can weigh 300 kilos and are not to be messed with. When bears and humans cross paths, things can get dangerous. But here, something astonishing has happened. For the fishermen, bears have become a part of everyday life. It takes some nerve, but the men live alongside them as equals. Tough characters, side by side, both dependent on the salmon run. The mother bear knows what she's doing. Survival is in her blood. Her ancestors came to Hokkaido from Siberia, and they walked here. 12,000 years ago, Hokkaido was joined to the Russian mainland. Siberian animals colonized it before the sea levels rose, turning Hokkaido into an island. It's why the wildlife here is so different from the rest of Japan and so well equipped to face the coming winter. The sika deer have started creeping into the lush cultivated fields. It's a whole new world. These fields are brimming with specially sown grass, intended for cattle. But this herd always seems to be one step ahead, helping themselves to the best grass before it can even be cut. Every year, deer can munch their way through over 30 million pounds worth of crops. But some farmers have developed a live and let live attitude. The deer are reaping the benefits of Hokkaido's human landscape. In a place like this, it pays to be adaptable. In the warmth of early summer, the red-crowned cranes have moved into the farmland waterways. And they have a new family member. They traditionally nest in marshes, but most have been drained. So the cranes are raising their chick in an irrigation channel. All through the summer, the chick will be entirely dependent on its parents for food. The channel is teeming with insects, fish, and frogs. But the parents can barely keep up with their gangly offspring's appetite. The family won't be able to move on until the chick can fly. In the meantime, they can't escape from surprise visitors. The sika deer have managed to wander right into the path of a pair of cranes with a week-old chick. Mum and Dad work together to shepherd the chick to safety. And then a quick flash of the dagger-like beak to make sure the deer keep their distance. The parents' diligence has paid off. Their priority now is to feed their chick while times are good.